Welcome to Notary Audio Training Channel. I'm glad to have you guys here with us today. Today what we're going to cover is pretty much like an affidavit. There's tons of different types of affidavits. We're going to cover an affidavit basically by an individual and an entity. Okay? An affidavit must be completed with accurate and truthful information provided by the individual or entity executing the documents. Affidavit documents are legal in nature and can have significant implications. They may be relied upon in court or other legal proceedings. Hence the need for accurate completion. The purpose of these affidavits is to provide sworn statements regarding the status and compliance of the buyers as per Florida statutes, especially when it comes to foreign entities or individuals. So I say Florida because the documents we're going over today is a Florida document, but all different states have affidavits. You'll see the different states. Before we start again, I just want you guys to read the information provided. It's training material. It is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not meant to substitute for legal advice or to serve as legal guidance. While every effort has been made to ensure the accuracy and completeness of this content, laws and regulations governing notarial acts can vary significantly by jurisdiction and are subject to change. I want you to continue to read that while I go over some other stuff that we're going to cover. By continuing to watch this video, you're aware that the information provided in these training materials is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not meant to be substitute for legal advice or to serve as a legal guidance. While every effort has been made to ensure the accuracy and completeness of the content, law and regulation governing notarial acts can vary significantly by the jurisdiction and are subject to change. I want you to continue to read that, and if you continue to watch the video, then that means you're acknowledging that you're aware. If not, you could stop the video, press pause, read it some more, whichever you like. So let's begin. Here we have an affidavit by individual buyer. Okay? So, an affidavit by individual buyer. This would be filled out by the person buying the property in their own name, or in the case where the property is being purchased jointly by individuals, each individual buyer would need to complete and sign this affidavit to affirm their personal details and adhere to the relevant laws. Okay? So the difference between the affidavits by individual buyer and the affidavits of an entity, which is this here, affidavits by entity, as you can see here, and we're going to go over each. The affidavits by entity is one of the buyers. Affidavits by entity buyer, you would see that if one of the buyers is an entity such as a corporation, LLC, partnership, trust, or other legal entities, this affidavit is used. It must be signed by an individual who is authorized to sign on behalf of the entity. The affidavits would typically require the title of the person signing to indicate their authority to bind the entity. So basically, if the person name that is signing is John Doe, it would be John Doe, member. So he'll be signing, and underneath his name would have his John Doe with a comment that says member, being he's a member of this company and he's allowed to sign for this company. If the property is being purchased by both an individual and an entity, for example, one individual and one corporation, then both affidavits should be filled out. The individual affidavits by the person and the entity affidavits by the authorized representative of the corporation. So sometimes when you get a packet or the person coming to you to get something signed, they may have both of these because they send the document out with both. The affidavits of a buyer for individual buyer and affidavits for an entity buyer, and then you would then have to notarize the correct documents. Now, if the person coming before you is purchasing this home as an individual, you don't need to fill out the entity buyer affidavits because there is no entity. It's just an individual. So remember, if there's an individual, you're using the affidavits by individual. If it's an entity, you're using the affidavits by an entity. If it's two parties and one is an individual, one is an entity, then you would use both. If it's two individuals, you would have two individual affidavits. Now, sometimes a company was only going to send you one affidavit of individual and probably one for the entity, or just one for the individual. When you print out the documents, or when you're at a closing, say to them, well, there's two signers here, so I'm going to need two of these. So you would know to print two. If you go to the attorney's office and there's only one, more than likely the attorney will know to have two. But if someone's coming to you with the documents, like sometimes, a lot of times if it's like an investment person buying homes, they may already have the docs, like they sent them the docs. So they printed them out and they presented them before you, and then you realize, hey, you need 2 of these. You just let them know, they'll print you out another one. But you want to make sure all the individuals who are purchasing this property are signing that affidavits, because they all have to sign that affidavits, whether it's an entity or an individual. Okay, so let's get into this doc. Let's go over the first page here. So we're going to go over the first page, which is the affidavits by individual buyer. So how do we fill this document out? Okay, so this is what we're going to go over now. Before me, the undersigned authority duly authorized to take acknowledgement and administrate the oath personally appeared blank, affiant. So basically, you're going to put the affiant's name there. The affiant is the name of the individual representing the entity buyer or the individual buyer. So if the person who is purchasing this property is a business, you're going to put the business name. If the person who is purchasing this property is an individual, John Doe, you're going to put John Doe on this blank line. So let's go ahead and put John Doe on that blank line. I know I got a John Doe here. I got John Joe. let me correct that to John Doe. Okay, so now we have that filled out. Who deposed and says under penalties of perjury that affiant is purchasing, acquiring an interest in the following following described real property located at, so you put the property address, okay? So let's put in the property address. And since we wrote John Doe name in here, let's put that in blue. Because when you're doing a purchase, everything is in blue. Usually they type the address in. If not, then we're typing it in. It's usually in there, but let's type it in. And I like to go with navy blue. I just like that. It's a little bit more professional. Okay. Okay, so the affiant is initialing where is applicable. So which you're going to tell them, you're going to check off, you're going to initial whichever is applicable to you. So in this case, John Doe will go ahead and initial JD, okay? And whichever is applicable to him. So then we go down to the next thing. Affidavits acknowledges that the affiant acknowledges the foregoing representation will be relied upon to establish compliance with the law. So John Doe is going to go ahead and sign there for us. So we're going to get John Doe. Okay. He's also going to print his name. And also placed his address here for us. When he puts his address, he's going to put the full address, and that is the street number, street or avenue, boulevard name, the city and state, as well as the zip code. Okay. We're using blue ink, so I'm just do everything in blue. I don't want to confuse you. When we're doing our exams and stuff, we have red and stuff, so we have different colors here. So then we go down here, and we have the notary acknowledged part. So the affiant is going to sign up here, okay, and fill out up here. Sometimes this is blank. You can write in their name. The address should be there. If not, they would write in the property address. They initial, they sign, they print their name, and they write the address. Okay. You as a notary, it's going to take care of the bottom part here. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to put your state. In this sense, we're going to use Florida. And then you have to put your county. Okay. Then it says sworn or affirmed and subscribed before me by means of, the means of meaning how did they swear and affirm this to you? Were they in your physical presence? Was it done by online notarization? So in this case, we're going to do physical presence because they were right in front of you when you're doing this, so that's why you would do that. But if they were remotely done online, then you would choose the online part. On this 7th, because 7 is our number this year, day of February 2024, by who? The signer, by John Doe. Okay, who blank is personally known or has produced, so they're in front of you and they produce some type of form of ID. In this example here, they're in front of us and they're producing to us a driver's license. So let's go ahead and choose driver's license. But it's whatever that person is producing in front of you is what you're going to check off, or if you personally know them. So we're going to go here, but of course you can't notarize anything for like a relative. So only one that you will gain from this transaction. You don't want to be involved in that, so you don't want to notarize anything like such. New Jersey driver's license. Then use New Jersey. In this case, he has property in Florida that he's in Florida, but maybe he lives in New Jersey because he has a New Jersey driver's license. Okay. Then you're going to sign as the notary your signature. You're going to print your name. And then you're going to put your commission expiration date, which we love, R7. So we're going to put this. We should have did 7/7/27, but it's okay. And this is how you would notarize this. Now, before you put your stamp, well, before you sign it as well, before you sign it and put your stamp, there's one important thing that you need to do here. Do you know what that is? If you said the oath, you are correct. Before a notary can notarize a document, sign it and stamp it, they must always give the oath. So in this case, this is a jurat. So we have to do the sworn or affirmed statement. So basically, you would say to that person, like a lot of loan signing agents have a whole oath that they do above before they start. That raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the information that you provided in the document you're signing are truthful to the best of your knowledge? Yes or no? If it's a few documents that has that sworn statement, you could read that sworn statement to them. You just want to make sure you do the oath before you stamp and sign that document. Because if you do not say the oath and you just stamp and sign the document, technically that's not a notarization. You did not notarize it correctly, so it shouldn't be valid. Again, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just saying that your job is to make sure you say the oath, then notarize the documents, okay? When you're dealing with a jurat. So then we go ahead and we're going to put our notary seal. You want to make sure your seal is never covering any of the wording, not even like a little bit, like it cannot cover the wording. So make sure you put your seal in a nice space. I always tell people it's good to have a regular size stamp and a mini stamp, just in case you get a paper where the space to notarize is very small, and that does happen. Some state does not allow you to write your stamp in, so you want to make sure you're always prepared. Okay, now this document is officially notarized. Okay, and this is how you notarize an affidavit by individual buyer. Okay, we have the affiant, the person who appeared before you, the property address that they're purchasing. They initialed whichever one was applicable to them. They signed, printed the name and address, and then you as a notary went ahead and filled out the notarial language / notarial certificate and notarized the document. And you also did the most important thing, you did the oath. Okay? So we're going to go to the next page, which is the affidavits by entity for the buyer. Okay? So this is for those so the other one was for individuals. So if you have a business, this is the person who's signing in front of you is signing on behalf of a business. This is the affidavits that they would use. Okay? So let's look at here. Let's read this out here. Okay? Before me, the undersigned authority duly authorized to take acknowledgement and administrative oath personally appeared. Who personally appeared before you in this case, our affiant, is John Doe. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put John Doe. There we go. Now, the next part, which is section 1, says, affiant is the blank of blank, which is hereinafter referred to as buyer. So who is being referred to as a buyer in this case? The entity. So affidavits is the blank of blank, which is hereinafter referred to as buyer. So if it's an entity, what is the entity name? So say the entity name is ABC LLC. Affiant is the ABC LLC of blank, which is hereinafter referred to as buyer. That doesn't sound right, right? Not at all. So you have to decide, and you should know this. So affiant is asking you for the role of ABC LLC, which is hereinafter referred to as the buyer. So the affiant title or relationship to the entity, whether they're the CEO, the president, the authorized agent, would be filled in where it says affiant is the. So affiant is the, in this case, we're going to say the president, okay? So let's go. President, the role of ABC LLC, which is hereinafter referred to as the buyer. Affiant is the president of ABC LLC, which is hereinafter referred to as buyer. So that makes sense, right? And that's the correct way to fill that out. Whatever the role is, and of the name of the company. Whatever the role is, and then the name of the company. Next. Buyer is purchasing or acquiring an interest in the following described real property located at, you put the address, the full address. So you want to put the street number, the street, boulevard name, whatever it's avenue. You want to go ahead and put the city, state, and the zip code. Sorry about that. I'm over here trying to find address. Okay, there we go. Then again, the buyer's going to initial with whichever is applicable to them. And they're going to initial with their name. So we're going to go ahead and initial JD. Okay. Then the affiant acknowledges the foregoing representation will be relied upon to establish compliance with the law. And then you tell them, once you're done, you're going to go ahead and sign. Then you say to them, so basically you would say to that, this is your affidavit of entity buyer, saying that you have the right to sign. Okay. So this here is your affidavit by entity buyer. Okay. Saying that you're authorized to sign these documents and that you are either a foreign person or not a foreign person. Affiant acknowledged the foregoing representation will be relied upon to establish compliance with the law. So you basically just tell them this is your affidavit by entity of buyer, saying that you are in what role to this company and that this is the property that you're purchasing, whether you're a foreign entity or not, and you're saying that information in the document is true. So you're going to go ahead and sign. There we go, John Doe's signature. Let's print your name. He's going to print his name. He's going to put the official capacity. The official capacity is the role. The name of the buyer. John Doe. The address. Now that John Doe has filled out, has finished, now that John Doe has signed, we can go on to the notarial language cert. Of course, you're going to say your oath, and then you're going to fill this out. You could basically do it in, once you said the oath, you can sign, print your name, put the state. So we're going to state of Florida, county of Lake, How do they personally appear before you or physical present? Physically present. Produce driver's license, we're going to say here. So we just put the date here. (2024) by who signed the documents? John Doe, because he's a representation. Who signed the document? John Doe. So personally appeared was John Doe. Who showed you some ID? The ID that they showed you was the driver's license. Then you're going to go ahead as a notary. You already said your oath. You don't want to write over or stamp over any of the wordings. You're going to sign, print your name. Then you're going to put your expiration date. And then you're going to stamp these documents here. Okay. Now, official capacity. So the official capacity, that is basically the role. This indicates that John Doe is making the affidavit in his capacity as president of ABC LLC, thus binding the LLC to the statement made within the affidavits. Okay, so now this document is fully notarized. Okay, so this is the affidavits by entity buyer. This is how you would fill out this is an example of how you would fill out a document like this, and understanding, what goes in certain blanks. I think one of the trickiest one here was probably affiant in the blank of blank, which is here in after referred to as buyer. That's a tricky one there. So just understanding that that's the role, and then the official capacity, that's also the role. They're taking on this role while signing this document. So it's letting them know, like if they were the manager, John Doe, the manager, he's signing as the manager of this company. In this case, he's signing as the president of this company. That's his capacity. Okay. And making sure you X off physical presence or online notarization, what the ID did they produce, if there was an ID produced, and that you stamp, sign, and fill out pretty much the whole notarial cert, which is also known as the notarial language part of the document. Thank you again. If you liked our video, please check out our other tutorials that we have. We'll have a lot more coming. Every year we like to redo the videos, so our library is being built back up again. Please subscribe, like the videos, share it. No problem with sharing. Sharing is caring, and knowledge is priceless. So share away.